Tired of feeling bloated, sluggish, or stuck in the cycle of trying every new health trend only to end up right where you started? What if the key to feeling better isn't another diet, but a reset from the inside out? Today, we're diving into the science of your gut and why what you eat might be the missing link on how you feel. Welcome back, everyone. It's Natalie. If you're overwhelmed by all of the nutrition noise out there, from fad diets to food fear, you're not alone. That's why I'm really excited to sit down with today's guest, Anu Sim, a gut health expert and the author of Flourish from Within. Anu brings both science and soul to the conversation, helping us understand the powerful connection between our gut microbiome and overall well-being, especially for women. Together, we're going to break down what ultra processed really means, that's a buzzword right now, and why protein and fiber matter more than you might think, and how to build a more diverse, nourishing plate without guilt, without confusion. We're also going to talk about the cultural pressure to eat clean, how to stop yo-yo dieting, and why self-compassion might be one of your most powerful wellness tools. Plus, you're going to get a sneak peek into Anu's book and how her personal story shaped her mission. If you're looking for a real sustainable way to improve your gut health, be sure you check out my Gut Reset Plan. It's a practical guide to help you simplify your meals, heal your microbiome, and feel your best without any overwhelm, I promise. You can find it at natalietysdal.com/ that's a / gut reset. That's Natalie Tysdal, NATALIETYSDAL.com /gut reset. I've had many of you already tell me how this plan has helped you get back on track and start the road to feeling better. That makes me so happy. And on that note, I'd like to get started with my guest today. I hope you enjoy the episode as much as I enjoyed recording it with Anu Sim. Anu, thank you so much for joining me today, talking about one of my favorite topics and one that I think is so important for women today, and that is the gut microbiome.
Thank you so much, Natalie. It's a pleasure, and I absolutely love talking about the microbiome. And when I really thought that because I'm in the field and I'm constantly talking about the microbiome, I thought everybody knew about it. But when I started writing the book, I realized that 2 out of 3 Americans have not even heard of the word microbiome. So I'm on a mission to change that, and so I'm really excited to talk to you about this.
Well, I became aware of it. I mean, being a health reporter, it's something that I've always heard about, but then personally having gone through some real gut issues, I realized just how important it is. So how did this get in the forefront of your work world as well?
Well, for me, it was my own gut struggles that really got me excited about the microbiome. I felt like this was a missing piece of the puzzle, that I had gut issues like bloating and things like that. And we're talking many, many moons ago, when the Human Microbiome Project had just started, and we are so ahead of the amount of studies and research that's been done. But back there, it was still so exciting to just see that these microbes, our forever guests, had such a big role to play in our well-being that I became obsessed. I started really learning everything. And I'm talking about the time when the Sonnenbergs had just released they'd come out with their book, The Good Gut, and time when there was no ChatGPT or internet. So I would spend a lot of time in the library really understanding about the microbiome. So from there to now, we have such an deeper understanding of the microbiome and its role to play in our lifelong health. So we're not just talking about gut issues, but gut issues, immune health, cardiovascular health, and metabolic health. So for me, because majority of the women who come to me are coming to me because they're so tired of the yo-yo weight gain. They're struggling with it. They don't know what to do, and the missing piece, I think, is the microbiome. And of course, you can't really simplify it and say it has it has everything to do just with the microbiome. The microbiome matters, hormones matter, the brain and the nervous system really plays a huge role. And of course, as a coach, I feel like that a big part is weaving all of that together. So it becomes a lifestyle shift. It's about habits and changing all of that. But I like looking at weight loss. I like looking at my metabolic health, especially people struggling with type 2 diabetes or, high cholesterol, all of that from the lens of the microbiome.
Let's talk about the biggest mistakes. Most of my listeners are women, but across the board, what are the biggest mistakes, especially just in the average American diet? Not everyone listening is from America, but we don't eat well. And when we
Yeah.
talk about the microbiome, a lot of it has to do with what we're consuming and what we're eating. What are the biggest mistakes that people are making?
I think the biggest mistake is being on restrictive diets for too long. So when I say restrictive diets, people are maybe struggling with, oh, I'm not losing weight. I'm just going to be on a 500 calorie diet. I'm going to cut out this, cut out that. I am bloated because I eat beans or lentils. All of that is fine short term, but if you're on restrictive diets for a very long time, it is going to cause problems. You're going to lose all of these incredible bacteria that are doing behind the scenes work for you. They are producing and very important metabolites like butyrate that really helps with inflammation and things like that. So I think number one is stop mono eating. Increase diversity in your diet. And when I say increase diversity, I mean like in the plant kingdom. So if you're eating just broccoli from Whole Foods, change that up. Go get some broccoli from the Chinese market because it's a different variety of broccoli. So these are simple things that anybody can do. Just try changing things up, increasing your diversity. I think is the number one thing that can help increase diversity of your microbial partners.
So, what are some of the other mistakes, though? I hear a lot about sugar,
Oh,
alcohol.
definitely. Yeah.
What are some of the mistakes that are harming
Yeah.
our
I,
microbiome?
I tell my clients, don't eat foods that your great grandmother is not going to recognize as food. Because that's majority of the brown, beige, ultra processed stuff that you get in the grocery store. Because the microbes don't recognize that as food. And we could have certain pathogenic bacteria that really thrive on sugar. And that gives your gut brain access through the vagus nerve, a clear signal, eat more of this. That's why we really have such a hard time just saying, okay, I'm just going to eat one cookie. That's never going to happen, because sugar drives, and it's not about willpower. It's about these microbes really pushing you to eat more and more because they get something out of it. So definitely ultra-processed foods. I know it's really hard to say don't eat anything ultra-processed. It's hard, it's a very difficult concept for us because we've gotten so used to having all of these foods in our life. But I would say limiting them would be a good thing because not only do they have sugar, the number one thing that's going to prevent you from gaining weight is if you have that satiety, if you feel satiated. And protein is the number one thing that's going to make you feel satiated. Do any of these hyper palatable foods have protein? No, because their protein is very expensive and you can't eat too much of it. So the food industry has figured that out. So putting all of these the chemicals and emulsifiers and who knows what, so many different kinds of colors, things like that, makes a food attractive. I remember I was talking to a friend of mine, and she said, "Well, I think in the 2000 to 2010, it was the orange foods, Doritos and things like that. Now all the teenagers are into blue food. I don't even want to know what the blue food is, but we are setting up our children for absolutely failing this all the health parameters by allowing them to continue eating this way. I feel as mothers or parents at home, if we change very early, like when the kids are young, and teaching them that broccoli is not a reward. I mean, candy is not a reward for eating broccoli, but instead, broccoli is its own reward. I mean, that's a simple conversation that a child is going to be excited about. But try saying that to a teenager who's already in that loop. It's going to be a little bit more challenging. So everything starts from childhood, I think.
How long do you think it takes to eliminate some of these things? So ultra processed foods, we can talk in a minute about what exactly that is. Sugars, food dyes. When you really stop eating those things, it doesn't just, you don't automatically get the benefits. It takes your body a little bit of time to recalibrate, to start feeling better. So to just cut it out one day, first of all, you're going to crave it like crazy.
Oh, yes.
So when you talk about like wanting that cookie, having one, then you're going to want it more.
Yeah.
So how long do you think it takes to really clean the
Yeah.
microbiome?
I think one of the nice things is the microbiome is very dynamic. It responds to dietary changes. I think diet is the biggest needle mover. By doing the research for the book, that's the one thing that time and again, every research pointed to: eat more fiber, increase diversity. That was the main message. After so many years of research, that is one thing we know for sure, that fiber really helps. Because evolutionary speaking, we've kind of handed over the fiber digestion to our microbes. So, and then when they digest the fiber, they produce very important compounds called short chain fatty acids, especially butyrate. And this compound is helping us in so many different ways: weight management, decreasing inflammation, really keeping our gut lining nice and strong, decreasing those cravings for ultra palatable foods. That's what it does, butyrate. It's one of the postbiotics that are so powerful. And we can actually make it by eating the right kinds of food. You don't have to take in tons of supplements. And that's something, Natalie, that I see a lot. People are just so attracted to different supplements. They think it's a quick fix. I'll take this supplement, I'll take this probiotic, and it's going to fix things. But you've got to look at the terrain. You've got to look at the whole picture. It's not just one probiotic coming in and fixing you. That's not going to happen. You're going to change your diet. And as you change your diet and you say no to a lot of these ultra processed foods, bring in all the foods that are really going to nourish you. So that is more important than just saying no to, I'm not doing gluten, I'm not doing dairy, I'm not doing sugar, I'm not doing, what are you eating? That becomes, if you're replacing those foods with other crappy foods, just because it doesn't have gluten does not mean make it healthy.
Oh
In
yeah, a lot of
fact,
processed foods without
yeah,
gluten. Hmm.
because
And sugar.
if you're just say, yeah, let's say you're having whole wheat bread, and you decide that gluten's, I mean, if you have a valid reason, like if you have celiac disease and you can't digest the gluten, that's different. But a lot of people are on this no gluten trip. My concern is you're saying no to gluten, which means you're not eating pasta, whole wheat pasta or bread and things like that. What are you replacing that with? That should be a question that comes up. If you're just replacing a pretty nutritious food with something that's not nutritious because you feel like the gluten's affecting you, that needs to be examined. And I mean, of course you can. There are so many other healthy options, but we need to figure that out. Yeah. I think ultra processed, I mean, even like when you think about processed foods, there's degrees of being processed, right? There's process that you take a whole grain and you maybe mill it, make it into a flour, and you make a bread out of it. That doesn't affect you as much as, let's say, you take the same flour and you add sugar to it, and you say, oh, it's kind of a brownish, not very interesting color. Let me add some color to it. Let me add some other kind of sweetener. And then you have this really processed food. So I think it's called the Nova scale. So where you find out what kind of processed foods you're eating. And the really poor quality food is the ultra processed, means it's robbed of all of its nutrients. It's got a bunch of other things added to it, and it makes you very susceptible to them. They're so hyper palatable that it causes this insatiable hunger that you've eaten everything, but you're still looking around. And that's your microbes talking to you. And not just willpower, because that's what a lot of women, they tell me. It's like, oh, I can't just say no to sugar. I can't say. But within a month of eating this way and eating more micronutrient-rich food, adequate protein, their body relaxes because evolutionary speaking, our body is looking for one nutrient, and that's protein, because protein really helps a lot. But again, there's a lot of confusion around protein. How much protein, what kind of protein. You need to mix the two. I call it the protein flip. Animal protein is great, but also adding a lot of plant protein will give you an added benefit of taking care of your microbiome.
I love this concept of not just the same thing over and over. Your body needs the variety. So let's go deeper into proteins then. What should a day of mixing different types of healthy proteins, what should that look like? Give me couple of examples.
Well, I think the number one thing is start your day with protein. Within like 60 to 90 minutes of waking, you all night your body is starved for protein because all of your amino acids, your liver is utilizing it. So your muscles are like, I've given all my amino acids to the liver. What do I do now? So feed your body so it gets enough of that protein to jumpstart your day. So you have some muscle protein synthesis happening bright and early in the morning. And what happens when you have protein in the morning is you feel so satiated, you're not going to keep eating. And what happens is a lot of people don't like to eat protein in the morning. They like a latte, a piece of toast, maybe a donut. That triggers that poor eating throughout the day. But instead, you say, I start my day with protein. I don't care how the rest of my day looks like because that's an easy fix. You're in charge. You're at home. Eat some protein, and that can look like scrambled eggs, lots of veggies to help your microbiome, or a protein smoothie. I am 100% smoothie person because so many people come to me with so many problems of digesting. The blender digests most of it for you. So when you're starting out on this journey, it's an easy fix. Take some protein, all of the greens have all been digested for you in the blender. So you're getting some good benefits from that. So you start with about 30 to 35 grams of protein. So you get that 2.6 of the leucine, that jumpstarts your, muscle protein synthesis in the morning. That's very important. The lunchtime is when you can really, really nourish your microbiome. Eat a big, huge salad. And I think eating volumetrically is so important, and by that I mean eating a lot of these foods like green veggies, lots of different kinds of vegetables, a little bit of grains and, things like that. So you feel satiated, your brain is happy. I see a lot of these women who come in saying, this is all I ate. I don't know how I'm gaining weight. Of course, your metabolism is tanking. There's very little food and your brain is unhappy because what are the signals it's getting? It's like, there's no food.
I'm hungry, eat more.
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And for us, especially women, and there's also that thing of when you eat out, people are judging you, if you we have to get past that, and say that I'm nourishing my body and I need to eat right for my body. And I feel like that's a big message that we all need to pass on to each other and say, it's okay. Because I see so many women eating at a restaurant, they just kind of nibble on food because just of the judgment on it. Oh, you have an appetite like a guy, or oh wow, look how much you're eating, sort of thing. We need to get past that. You need to know what works for your body. That is nutrition and that's diversity, a little bit of adequate protein, good fats. We don't need to complicate this. We don't need to make this into a big lecture about food because you just need only 2 or 3 rules to eat healthy, I think.
I think that's a really good point because we tend to get, especially with today's media, this could be something that we could talk about for a long time, is we get inundated with information and so much information that we freeze or we just don't try. And when you talk about the rules, sometimes the rules are that we hear are important are it has to be a certain type of protein, or it has to be organic, or it has to be a certain type of oil. Some of those things help a little bit, but how important do you think they are in terms of the types of protein powders in your smoothie or oils, the
Natalie,
seed oils?
That's such a great question because I think as the media, everyone, influencers, they're all focusing on single nutrients. That's not going to help the person on the street. Like if I'm listening to someone and they say no seed oils, do this instead, it's so confusing. I mean, what does that matter? And ultimately it's the big picture that helps. And it doesn't help that the media is always kind of cherry picking little things to say. Like, for example, the one thing I'll see a lot is women who eat yogurt are healthier, or eat yogurt and lose weight. I mean, it's an observational study at best. And these women who eat yogurt probably have better habits. They're probably exercising. They're probably eating a little bit more. They're conscious about what they're putting into their body. And to say that is so misleading. And it's very frustrating for me because I do have clients who come and say, oh, I was told this. I was told I shouldn't have this kind of protein, or I should eat more of this. Let's keep it simple. And always remember that you know your body better than anyone else. You have the power within you to make the decisions. Listening to someone else telling you they don't know your body, and food is very bio-individual. Nutrition is very complicated. It cannot be just a soundbite.
So if there were one big tip that you would give to have someone start feeling better immediately, what would that tip be?
I would say eat for your body. And I don't mean intuitively you've got to know what's right for your body, because a lot of times when you've been eating this way with a lot of processed foods and things like that, intuitively you may feel like you want more sugar. That's not what I mean. I mean is to get the science, just know that basic things on my plate. I need some protein, I need some good fats, I need lots of fiber. Let me just start there. I don't need to know if it's organic. I don't need to know that it has seed oil or tallow or whatever it is that today people are thinking about. Let me just start eating this way for about a week. Increase my micronutrients because I don't make these vitamins and minerals. I'm getting it from a diet. What if I just increase these nutrients for 1 week? Start it as an experimental goal. See how I feel at the end of the week. Then take the next step. I think we all make goals, but we don't have systems to help us, And this can be a very simple system to help you help translate that goal of eating healthier, keeping it simple.
And it gives you somewhere to start. If you try to do too many things all at once, that's when we shut down. So if you start with one,
and then
then build
the stress
others.
of it.
Oh, yeah.
Your nervous system is going to be like, and I mean, we've talked about food and the microbiome, but stress really affects the microbiome. And stress affects sleep. And if you don't sleep well, that affects the microbiome. Within 1 day of not sleeping well, your microbial diversity can reduce. So they're all connected,
I sat down last night at dinner and my husband had grilled steak. We had put some corn on the grill. We had some fresh steamed broccoli. And I looked at the plate and I said to my husband and my son who were with me, boy, this is a nice, colorful plate. all natural color, all healthy. Like I'm sure that we could have added something, but I like to emphasize like how fortunate and beautiful it is when we have color and pretty food on our plate
Yeah.
that is real food. And it's not color that comes from somewhere else. And I just sit and appreciate that and then think of how my body's going to appreciate that.
And we've kind of lost sight of that. And that's one of the reasons I kind of focused on feeding the microbiome in my book. Because I think food is very complicated. Food is social. Food is divisive. Food can unite us. Food is cultural. It's not easy to figure out nutrition, but in the book, I really don't talk about, I just want to be culturally sensitive because every culture has food that is healthy. Just to say Mediterranean diets are the best is not going to help someone who's maybe South Asian or East Asian. Like, what the heck is that? I can't eat like that. I need my tofu and my tempeh or whatever, or my roti and my dal. So you have to be culturally sensitive to people and try to figure out what does that culture really give them as far as healthy foods. And every culture has healthy foods. You have sopa de frijoles, which is bean soup in Mexico. There's dal in India, or ceci negra in Italy. There's so many different ways that you can really combine it. Pick the cuisine that you like and find things in there that really help you thrive. I think that's really important. And feeding the microbiome is, in the book, I say have some foundation layers, and the foundation is veggies, and fruits, and fruit has been demonized in the media like nobody's business. So it's like, please do not compare fruit to candy. I heard someone say that, I heard that I should stop eating fruit because grapes are just like eating a Hershey's bar. I've never heard such baloney before because grapes have fiber, they have polyphenols. There's so many things that really help you. So to compare the two is really wrong, and maybe sometimes it's really out of context that people say these things, but we don't know as a layperson who doesn't understand the science what the difference between the two are, which one is better. So if someone says that, beware, don't fall for that. Fruits are good. Just try to find fruits that are lower in sugar. And that may help if you have a propensity to diabetes and things like that. Enhancers in the food, like fermented foods, good herbs and spices, all of that really help the polyphenol compounds in the gut. So keep it simple. Foundational layers, some enhancers, and some functional foods. And functional foods are like beta glucans, inulin, things like that really help the gut grow. But all of this has a starting point, and that is eating more diversity, adding some protein and some good fats. That's a great starting point for anybody, I think.
All such good information, great advice. The name of the book again, and I'll be sure and put it in the show notes. What is it?
It's Flourish from Within.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Anu, thank you so much for the information. It's really good to meet you and to talk to you, and I look forward to doing it again.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for joining the Natalie Tysdal podcast. You can follow along on Instagram and at natalietysdal.com. Subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave a review so I can continue to bring you fresh content. See you next week.